Alright, what's going on everybody? Welcome back to another video here on the channel, and today we're going to be talking about a situation involving a Russian YouTuber who is currently receiving a pretty good amount of hate and nasty comments regarding the fact that they are Russian. Obviously, we all know that the whole Ukraine and Russia situation unfolded, where Russia did invade Ukraine. There's currently a pretty massive conflict going on there. And also, before we get further into the video, I want to go ahead and say that below, I've included a link to a place called Project Hope, which is a charitable organization that is currently in the process of helping assist people on the ground in Ukraine. They will be responding by actively shipping medicine and medical supplies to people impacted by the crisis. 3 million people in Ukraine already needed humanitarian assistance before the military invasion by the Russians, but obviously considering what we've seen go on over the last few days, there's probably going to be hundreds of thousands, if not millions of more people who are in need of some sort of attention. You are completely free to donate down below. In fact, I personally encourage it. Anyway, today's video will be surrounding a YouTuber by the name of NoFuckers. In the commentary community here, you might actually know who NoFuckers is from back in the day, especially. I remember back in like 2016. This guy was huge. You know, he was one of the biggest commentators from what I can remember. I was watching his videos. Over the last few years, though, as a Russian, he kind of transitioned his content away from like internet commentary videos and more or less was making content surrounding Russia, right? You know, visiting popular cities or popular destinations in the area, talking about the history. And NoFuckers has a channel with 950,000 subscribers, so we're not talking about some nobody, right? This is a verified YouTube creator here, and unfortunately he's receiving the blunt end of a lot of hate and nasty comments due to the situation that's unfolding in Ukraine. Keep in mind, it's not like NoFuckers is in support of this, you know, it's not like NoFuckers like joined up against the, you know, the Russian military here to go fight in Ukraine or something like that. Hasn't even really voiced any sort of public support. In fact, it's been pretty much the opposite from what I understand. Roman, which is his real name, is actually pretty much like anti-Putin / anti-war right now. In fact, he's actually uploaded 2 videos in specific talking about this situation, just speaking out against the Russian government for what's going on here. So before we even get any further, I kind of want to give a little bit of pretense behind what actually happened here. The Russian people, for the most part, are not in support for what's happening in Ukraine. They did not want a war, they did not want conflict, and in reality, the people who really kind of pushed for this entire thing to happen was the Russian government and Putin themselves, right? This was more or less a decision made by the higher-ups. It wasn't like, you know, Russians were marching through the streets demanding that Ukraine were to be invaded. This is something that was done by the government. In fact, it kind of reminds me of some situations like here in the US, people's support for like the Iraq war and whatnot was pretty low, right? Especially towards the end, but of course, you know, the government was the ones kind of propping up that war. And like with the Vietnam War, there were protests here in America. People protested this. You know, situations like Kent State happened during the Vietnam War, and the government primarily was the people who kind of wanted the entire conflict to unfold. These things happen. People don't support the actions of their government, and a lot of Russians don't support what's going on. So, unfortunately, though, a lot of people haven't really caught on to that. They haven't seen that that's kind of the case, and people like NoFuckers or Roman, who are just kind of online, just existing as Russians, are basically suffering from a lot of hate comments right now. And unfortunately, this kind of extends, I think, even further. I think that a lot of just everyday Russian people are kind of being like the targets of this kind of anger that the world has towards Russia right now for what's happening. So obviously the vast majority of the world at this point has kind of like denounced Russia for what they do, and it's gotten to the point that even like allies of Russia have stepped in to just say like, go fuck yourselves, basically. Kazakhstan is like a very historically pro-Russia state, and even they, when asked by Russia to join the war against Ukraine and send in their military, denounced what Russia was doing and denied any sort of aid towards their country. China even came out and said that they respect Ukrainian sovereignty, even though they also acknowledged the Russians' quote-unquote fears of NATO and whatnot. So there's been like this online, you know, debate about the entire situation, which is understandable. It's a massive online event, right? And of course it's, you know, happening in real life, but people talk about these things online because, well, that's really the best way to globally communicate things. And a lot of Russians have faced backlash and hatred for what's going on, even though they might not even necessarily support what's going on. So I want to play a few excerpts from NoFuckers' video here to kind of show you, I guess, maybe the mindset of an average Russian, right? Of somebody who lives in the country. And then I'm going to show you guys how this all is actually affecting him personally as a Russian citizen and kind of talk about the situation in general. So
this is the thing as well. Actually today in Moscow and St. Petersburg and other cities in Russia, there were pretty big anti-war protests protesting against this. And just the fact that there are protests in a country where going to a protest process that's like unauthorized with the government could potentially land you in jail or get you a very big fine and, you know, create problems for your future career or whatever. The fact that people are still risking all that and doing it shows that there are people who are very passionately against it inside of Russia. Because this is one thing that pisses me off, is that like whenever you go on like Reddit, like r/world news, and I'm not trying to diss everybody on that subreddit, but a lot of the people on there, whenever there's any new like thread about Russia, the amount of like fucking just hate on regular Russian people I see there is fucking insane.
When you hear and see things like this, man, like I live in the United States, the majority of you do as well, it's pretty sad because he's right to an extent, right? Like we really don't know how good we have it here in countries where you have the right to free speech. Like in this video, I can openly say fuck Joe Biden, fuck the US government, I hate the military, I can't stand the government, you know, I can say these things. I hate Congress, I hate the House of Representatives. The police are not going to come to my door and arrest me. I have the right to free speech within the First Amendment. I can say that shit. People in Russia do not necessarily have that option. You know, if you go to a protest that isn't sanctioned by the government, yes, you can go to jail. If you make anti-Putin remarks on the internet, you can face repercussions for that. And of course, America is not the only country on earth with free speech, but man, you know, I don't have the experience of living in another country where they have free speech, right? I live here in the US. I have United States constitutional rights. And to think that protesting government action could lead to you being rounded up in a fucking van and being dragged to jail and charged is mind-boggling to me. Like that, it's sad because you can see these people clearly don't support the actions of their government. They don't support what the Russian government's doing, and it's hard for them to be able to speak out on it in a way in which it won't get them in trouble. And he's right. I don't have to monitor every single little thing I say because the government could be just paying attention. Of course, you know, the government here spies on us and whatnot, and there's a lot of horrible things that our government does when it comes to our rights, but I can't imagine what it's like to live in Russia right now. It has to be pretty hard. I mean, it's not a situation that I'd want to personally have to deal with, and people online who are Russian are dealing with a lot of shit right now. In fact, I want to show you guys an excerpt of a comment that I saw on Twitter from Nicholas Diorio that kind of highlights, you know, some of the sentiment that people have towards Russian people right now. And keep in mind, this isn't like super widespread. It's not like literally everybody online is just like shitting on Russians like this, but I mean, I have unsubbed. You are saying there is misinformation from Western media. We have more of a clue than you. Putin is lying just like he's always done to the Russian people. God fucking damn, no fuckers. I expected a better combination of this from you. I will no longer watch your videos. I'll keep an eye out for a video in the next few days in response to the full invasion. Sorry, I know you personally are not responsible for what's happening between Russia and Ukraine, but as long as the Russian people don't stand up and declare being against a possible war with Russia as aggressor, I must take a stand. I have stopped my Patreon and unsubscribed from your channel. You're a good guy, but also with responsibility towards peace and brotherhood. I wish you all the best. I really enjoyed your videos. Okay, so I just want to let you guys know, a dictator like Vladimir Putin is not going to determine his fucking foreign policy based on whether or not someone like No Fuckers makes a YouTube video, just as much as Joe Biden and the US cabinet and everything are not going to base their political decisions on a fucking Optimus video. Please get real with yourselves. People in Russia cannot help what's going on. You don't understand, I think, the situation that they've been put in by their government. They live under an oppressive regime. Don't get it twisted. They may have the title of, like, President Vladimir Putin, but he has pulled the strings for years to put himself in a position where he's essentially president for life. If that is not dictatorship, I don't know what is. These people are not responsible for it. It's essentially victim blaming, and I don't understand why people are putting this kind of level of blame on people who aren't even involved. Like, the way these people react, you'd think that, you know, Roman here is basically like a top Russian general, like ordering troops into Ukraine. That is not the case, alongside all these other people who would be facing harassment online too. In fact, I want to show you a little, I guess, look into how this all has affected Roman himself, and in large, how this is now affecting the Russian people who don't even popularly want this war, but can't really do anything or say anything because they're afraid that they will face repercussions from their government. Lol, just got an email saying I cannot withdraw from Patreon. My bank was added to the list of sanctioned banks and they're stopping transactions. Basically, if you don't understand this, the US, EU, UK, pretty much like a bunch of countries around the world, have now issued sanctions against the Russian government, Vladimir Putin, a bunch of the elites in Russia, but also against a pretty big list of the major Russian banks, which makes it pretty much impossible or extremely difficult in a lot of situations for like normal transactions to really kind of go through. So keep in mind, the people who are really paying the ultimate price in Russia are people who don't even want to be involved with this. Many of the soldiers who are fighting in Ukraine were basically conscripts, which means that they were like, you know, forced into military service in a way. News reports have indicated that Russian troop morale is low, and a lot of it probably comes down to the fact that no one else really wanted this war in the first place. And now Russian citizens are paying the price economically for what their leadership has chosen to do. Do you think these people want trouble with their banks so that they can invade Ukraine? Do you think these people want their fucking payments and their livelihoods to be interfered with so that they can invade Ukraine? That doesn't even make sense logically. Now, there is an update to this situation here, so we'll have a video out relatively soon about me being sanctioned, LMAO. I guess the move right now is to try to get a new bank. Also might open a crypto wallet for donations. I'm not really a crypto guy, but with what's going on right now, I probably have no choice. I don't know how many of my audience is into crypto at all, but well, we'll see. Y'all know that I'm a Russian doomer, and I just always thought I got too lucky to be in the position that I'm in to make decent money and support my family when a ton of my friends have to live paycheck to paycheck in this unstable economy. I never felt like it was fair. I always thought there was going to be a point where life is going to hit me hard, where it hurts, and take it away from me, and this is it. This is a sad situation, not even just for Roman, but for the millions of Russian citizens who have to deal with these kinds of repercussions. Can you imagine as Americans if we invaded some country and then the rest of the world sanctioned our economy into the fucking dumpster and we all had these kinds of problems? That's basically, you know, the reverse of what's happening here. And it's sad that the Russian people have to pay this price for Vladimir, basically, for Putin. So I guess if there's any moral to this video to take away, or anything really to take away as a message here, it's that please realize that the Russian people are people too. They are people that didn't want this conflict. They're people who are paying the ultimate price, essentially. They're the ones who are losing their sons, their brothers, their cousins, their family members, their friends in this bloody war that's taking place in Ukraine. They're the ones that are facing the economic pressure for this entire thing. And with all of that going on, it's pretty hard for them to speak out on what's going on without the fear of going to jail or being taken away by the government or basically having their human rights oppressed by the regime that they live under. Please understand that. And while I do support Ukraine, and I believe that Ukrainian independence is number one in this situation, and I'm happy to support their military defense here, it's not like this is a war that's being waged by the Russian people. People like no fuckers who make videos online talking about Russia do not deserve to be targeted with hate and to be targeted with shitty messages while they also have to go through all of this, right? It's very unfortunate how quickly something like war can turn people into, you know, just not human, you know, it seems like people's basic, like, human comprehension, it seems like, goes out the door sometimes. It's insane how quickly the human psyche can change from, like, seeing somebody as an individual and a person to basically being an enemy because of the actions of someone else. And with that being said, thank you all for watching. If you did enjoy, make sure to leave a like, subscribe if you're brand new around here on the channel. Once again, there is a link down below to Project Hope, which is going to be providing medical assistance to the Ukrainians during this hard time. If you would like to donate, the link is below. And of course, until my next video, this is Optimus, well, talking about what's going on here and signing out.